What is up, W Sports Podcast? Jimothy and Tubby are back, and I know you all are probably in the middle of what is consumed college basketball, the time of year where it's all about college basketball. But hey, we want you to hit pause, take a breath. Let's reset real quick. We got a lot of tournament left, so why not take a break, get something to drink, and turn on the W Sports Podcast because Jimothy and Tubby today. I don't know why I talked about myself in third person, but Tubby today specifically is going to be bringing all of his quarterbacks and cornerbacks on the defensive side of the ball. All that knowledge coming at you today. So Tubby, it's your favorite time of year. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, no, I'm ready for this. This is kind of a new thing for us this year, where we're talking, position players beforehand. We'll still come out with the videos and stuff, but this gives me a little bit more time to actually talk because there's a time limit when it comes to the shorts. So
there's a time limit.
Nice and short.
We appreciate the shorts though, because honestly, it's one of the biggest areas where people do subscribe to the show because you bring so much so quick. So I am excited today. We're going to highlight some of the key guys, maybe some of the ones you expect to drop, and some of the sleeper. I mean, there's always sleeper picks out there. It's hard to have sleepers in the way the world of sports work at this point, but I am excited to get into it today. I think we should start with corners and then end with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because I think that's, just stick with this in the show and maybe fast forward to the 10-minute mark or whatever if you are just here for the quarterbacks. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But you feel good with that, Tubby?
Yeah, I like it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, let's get to it. We already know who your number one corner is, right? I mean, what do you want to say about it?
I mean, it's Travis Hunter, and it's not close, honestly. I mean, this is a good cornerback class, but it's not what last year's was. Last year's cornerback class was so deep, and, I mean, you had guys getting drafted in the third, fourth round that really showed out this year as rookies. So this one still got some depth to it, but it's not what it was last year. But yeah, Travis Hunter is by far, to me, he's the best player in the draft period. When it comes to, if we're looking at the big board, what he can do defensively is he can shut people down. And honestly, I believe that that's the position he should play in the NFL if he's going to pick one position in his cornerback, because we have seen him when he plays wide receiver, he gets hurt more often, which he kind of sounds weird. He's not actually trying to hit people, but he gets hit a little bit more on the offensive side. We've seen him get hurt a few times on the offensive side, but he's your prototypical NFL shutdown man corner, and he can play zone also. I mean, he's so versatile, flexible. He can do pretty much anything on the defensive side if he wanted to when it comes to the secondary, and he's gonna make someone very happy when they draft him.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot that you can say about Travis Hunter that isn't a glowing positive. The dude absolutely loves the game. He understands his skill set. He understands space, both on offense. And if you get him, it's a 2-for-1 almost. I mean, it's not a Shohei Ohtani yet, but maybe it could be. So how about this? How many other first rounders are you anticipating in this corners class?
I'm going to say at least 3 more outside of Travis Hunter. I believe that we'll see Will Johnson, which he's my number 2.
That makes sense.
I think he has a chance to go top 10 just depending on how the draft board falls, but he's at least a lock in the top 15. I think depending on who you ask, Jahdae Barron from Texas, he is considered a corner for some people. For me, I consider him, he needs to go back to safety. I don't think he has the fluidity, but if you look at a lot of people, they're going to say he's going to be, or not a lot of people, I think it's probably going to be split where it's, 50-50 corner safety. I think he could go in and be a star safety in the NFL. I think if he's drafted as a corner, he's going to struggle some because, like you said, the hips, the feet aren't the greatest, but he has that ball hawking ability in the center field as a safety. I think that he could. And then I think another one that probably will sneak into the first round now after his Senior Bowl and his combine is Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. He's a guy that I was really big on before the Senior Bowl and before the combine, and he just kind of reaffirmed everything. Big, fast, feisty. I mean, he will put up a fight. He's that. When you look at Kentucky defense, you look at the gritty, mean defense. That's what he is, but as a corner, and he will tackle out in space. He'll hit you hard, but he's also going to be someone that's going to pick the ball off, and you're not going to be able to just blow past him because what he ran a 4.30 or something like that.
4.28.
4.28 at the combine. So
It's
he's
flying.
he's got the speed. But yeah, I think those four are probably. I think Harrison might be the one that's not considered a lock, but I think those, at least the top three, and I think Harrison will sneak into the back end of the
Yeah,
first round.
and possibly early day 2 is still a great spot for a
Yes.
lot of teams
Mm-hmm.
where they do need corners. There's plenty
Mm-hmm.
of need out there. Is there a guy that maybe his stock going into maybe even combine, post combine, his stock has dropped significantly enough to where maybe you see him late day 2 or even falling to day 3?
Yeah, there's actually two that were like at the beginning of the college football season that were probably top 2 or 3 corners depending on who you ask, and that's Benjamin Morris out of Notre Dame. He
Oof.
was a lock first round pick. The injuries have really hurt him, not being able to do combine, not being able to do the Senior Bowl, and he's starting to slide down the draft board. Which, if I'm a team in the second round and I see Benjamin Morris there, I'm taking him as soon as I can because I think if he was healthy, I would have him up probably at third when it comes to my rankings.
Ooh.
I really like the ability he has, the size, the man coverage. Once again, we talked about, Kentucky, how their defense is spicy. Same thing with Notre Dame. When you got a defensive-minded head coach, that defense is going to translate, and he knows how to, put people in the NFL, especially on the defensive side. And then the other one is going to be Rebel from East Carolina. He was another guy that was looked as a lock first round pick. The injury again in the middle of the season has really hurt his draft stock, where now I would think that he's actually pushing more towards third round instead of the second round.
Yeah, and two quick guys, I thought that were pretty high going into the season. You'll have a better memory than I will, but Thomas from Florida State, or even Burke,
Yes.
Denzel Burke from Ohio State. Those two guys, I thought were pretty big names. Do you think that their stock is kind of just staying steady then where they're at?
Yeah, I think so. I would say Thomas has probably helped himself out a little bit more over the last couple of months with the combine and the Senior Bowl. He's performed decent, or he performed really well at the Senior Bowl, but I think his stock may be going up a little bit more. But Denzel Burke is another one. Yeah, I think I don't know what happened. He didn't have the best year this year for Ohio State, even though they won the national championship, but he was another guy that was looked at as a first round pick before the season started, and he's kind of started to slide down the draft board where I think most people, where they rank him, he's probably somewhere around the 8 or 9 range when it comes to the corners.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Any maybe late sleepers that potentially could be undrafted, but you think even that if they make it to a team, like they're going to be battling out, even for not just a special teams roster spot, but like a legit depth piece that could play pivotal role down the stretch?
Yeah, there's one that I'm really big on. He didn't have the best season. He had a really good year the year before for Washington, but it was Jabbar Muhammad from Oregon. I'm seeing him somewhere around the 4th, 5th, maybe 6th round. And I think this is a guy that, with the right coaching, you're looking at someone that could be a really good number 2 corner in the NFL. And he has all the man coverage. He's going to be really good in press man coverage, which, if you can get him in the right system and get the right coaching, I think this guy could really be a steal in the 4th, 5th, 6th round if that's where he ends up going, because he has all the ability. It was just like, for some reason, the year before did not translate to this year.
Yeah. I don't know. This is compared last year or even the year before, even looking forward to next year. Where do you think this draft class ranks? Considering, hey, a 5-star class is, hey, this thing is loaded. A 1-star class is, honestly, there's 1 or 2 pieces. The rest are all depth at best. Where do you think this one would lie?
Are we talking about overall?
Overall, the corners, yeah.
So, just the corners.
Yeah,
I would say this one is probably a 4. Like I said, I like the depth. I think there's some good back end depth too that can really, be at least depth players in the NFL. Last year, like I said, last year's was crazy. Last year's draft is, potentially could go down as one of the best drafts we've seen in maybe ever. I mean, if those quarterbacks and all, we saw the first round talent and the second round, third round talent all last year really show out. We saw some guys late in the draft last year that, really, put out. This year, I would say this one is a really good deep draft class where you can build depth on the defensive side, especially in the corner area.
Yeah, I like it. Any final thoughts? I mean, or are you ready to move to corner or quarterback? Wow, I knew I
So
was going to do that.
there's one other guy I want to mention that for me he's one of my favorite players in this draft, and it's Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. Corner, I think this guy has been overlooked a lot. He has everywhere he's been. I think he started out at Louisiana Lafayette or something like that, Louisiana, and he knows how to find the football, and that he may not have the best mechanics right now, but with good coaching, I think this guy has a chance to potentially be one of the top 2 guys out of this draft class when it's all said and done when it comes to the corners, because he has the size, he has the speed, he has the ability. It's just about getting the fundamentals down. And once he does that, I don't know if there's anything stopping this kid from being a star at corner.
Gotta love it. One of those teams that gets to take maybe a late pick with great coaching could have themselves an incredibly valuable piece, especially building towards a postseason. I love it. I love the take. That's what those teams. You're not drafting the top 10. You're not going to get the top 10 talent most of the time. You have to have the best coaches, and that is a great example of why. All right, let's move on to the quarterbacks. I feel like we made pretty good time. I said about 10 minutes. Here we are, 11 minutes. So,
hey,
all right. We know the big names, so you've not been shy about talking about kind of where your heart's been leaning and maybe some of the trends post Senior Bowl and even some of the pro days and obviously Combine. Give me your top 5 though right now in order, maybe 5 to 1 or 1 to 5. You can tell me.
I mean, right off the bat, we know Cam Ward's the best quarterback in this draft. I don't know if it's really super close, but this is not the best quarterback class you're going to see. And looking forward to, there's not a whole lot of quarterbacks in college football right now where you're looking at upcoming drafts where you're like, yeah, that guy's going to be a stud in NFL. And it's going to be a trend we're going to see over the next few years. But Cam Ward, what he can do, his mobility, the arm strength, the accuracy, he has the ability to be a good NFL quarterback. It's just going to be, I think he might be a little big-headed. I've watched some videos of him and Shedeur. I don't know if it's just friendly banter or whatever, but they go at it a lot when it comes to like trash talking each other because they train with the same quarterback coach. And part of me kind of understand, gets the feeling that he might be a little bit big-headed, but sometimes that can serve you good as a quarterback going, hey, I have the ability to do what I can. So I'm going to go out there and do it. But he's my top. My number 2 is probably going to shock a lot of people. And it has changed from what I thought it would be, but it's Jackson Dart. I'm a big fan of what Jackson Dart can do. His athleticism is very underrated for his, a guy like that. He has the arm strength. He has the deep ball passing is probably the best out of any quarterback in this draft. The deep ball accuracy strength is, a really big fundamental for him. He's going to have to work on, over the middle passing, being a little bit more accurate. But I think this guy, if you get him and if you have the possibility, we say this every year, let him sit for a little bit and learn some more. He could be another really good quarterback in the NFL. Next, I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur, I think there are some questions when it comes to the arm strength. You watch some of the videos, he's really good at the over the middle passes. The out routes aren't the best, especially deep outs. Doesn't seem like he has quite the arm. So when it translating to the NFL, being faster and quicker than college football, that might be a problem for him with the arm strength. And he is someone I think has fallen down the draft board quite a bit. Everyone thought he was a first round, a top 10 pick. He still will probably go in the first round, but I think it's going to be later towards the back end of the first round where a team maybe trades back in and takes their quarterback. But if he fell to the second round, I wouldn't be overly shocked because it just seems like there's a lot of teams that are put off by some of, his demeanor, his, attitude, stuff like that. I think that's going to hurt him in the long run. Next, I'm going to go with Quinn Ewers, which I don't feel great about. But it's just the way this draft is right now. There's not a whole lot of good quarterbacks in this draft.
Yeah.
But I don't see Quinn ever being a solid NFL starter. But he could be a really good backup throughout the for many years. I think you needed a spot start. Your quarterback gets hurt. I think he could come in and be a really good backup.
Mm-hmm.
And then my number 5 is going to be Dylan Gabriel. I think Dylan Gabriel is another guy that could be a good quality backup quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be a starter. I know there are some teams that are really high on him right now, like the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are really high on Dylan Gabriel right now. With the somewhat quarterback questions, can Dak stay healthy? How much longer do we want to keep Dak? They traded away, or they didn't trade away. They didn't re-sign Cooper Rush. We've seen the Trey Lance scenario, work out the way most of us thought it was going to work out.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of in that, mode where they're looking for their backup quarterback. But I think a lot of people will be surprised that Jalen Milroe is not on this list. But if you've listened to the podcast, we know we are not big fans of Jalen Milroe when it comes to quarterback.
Not at the next level. And it's the same reason, not the exact same reason. I think at the very least he stayed healthy, whereas Anthony Richardson hasn't. And has more snaps and reps, but it just, I could see he has all the tools. Sure. I just don't see it. I was surprised to see Dylan Gabriel sneak in there just as much as I was to realize Riley Leonard was 6'4", because to me he plays like he's 5'8".
Yeah, right.
I was just like, all right, sure. But I do think if you look at this class, if it's a 1-star, like this isn't great versus 5-star stacked with talent and top tier talent, I think this is like a 2-star. What do you think?
Yeah, that's where I would put it. I'd put it as 2-star because I think there's really, for me right now, I see 2 guys that could be potential good starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. I think if Shedeur Sanders can maybe get his head on a little bit straighter and not be so arrogant and stuff, and not think, be such a me person and be more of that leader that you need at quarterback, maybe he could develop into a good NFL quarterback. But right now there's 2 guys, I think and that's about it right now.
Yeah. I still believe in Shedeur Sanders. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. He's Coach Prime's son. Like Prime was the same way, and he was electric as a player. Now, quarterback is a different position, so I'll give you that. But I still believe in Shedeur Sanders. I probably would rank him above Jackson Dart. But same thing. I don't think I think there's 3 quarterbacks who I'd be okay with if I had, and the rest I'd be like, they are a backup. Is there anybody outside? I mean, you mentioned Dylan Gabriel as a backup, but I know some of the other names out there: Will Howard, Kyle McCord. Man, that's really it outside of Milroe. I mean, any of these other guys that you think could start next year? I think that's the right question.
I don't think any of these. I think there's really probably 3 that will potentially start next year, and it's those top 3. But if there is one that we haven't mentioned that I think that is slowly sneaking up the draft boards, and it's Brady Cook out of Missouri. I'm not the biggest fan of Brady Cook. Don't get me wrong, but what I saw at the combine was really good, and he then went back and watched some film, and he was a lot better than I gave him credit for. He doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. He's a very, he's really good with the football, making sure they keep possession of it. He's got a strong arm, but I still view him as a backup in the NFL. But if there was maybe one that most people aren't really talking about, that would be the one that I could see maybe sneaking up the draft board and maybe shock some people that he gets drafted higher than a lot of people would expect.
Yeah. How about a Grayson McCall? Any?
I think he retired.
Did he retire? I didn't know he retired. Okay.
I think he medically retired. He got another concussion this year, and he's actually on the Coastal Carolina coaching staff.
Oh, good for him. That's awesome. I love that. That's what I figured Dylan Gabriel was going to do, but here we are. Now we're talking about him being a draft day guy. Yeah. What about Spencer Petras?
That guy's going to be playing for some England team. The UK has a professional football league. That's probably where he'd end up at. I don't even think he can make it in the CFL or the UFL, but yeah.
Well, he can't play quarterback very well. He's also the only quarterback that's actually on most of these rosters that ran a 5-something 40 time. I don't, dude. He's the epitome of an Iowa quarterback. No offense, probably a good guy, probably a really good locker room guy, but just not a next level quarterback. I can't believe some people have had to rank him. I just want to throw that one out there.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't rank. I probably would have a hard time ranking guys after 7 or 8.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of guys. You're just out there. I don't know. There's still some young guys that have gotten drafted that haven't really had a shot. JJ McCarthy, Hendon
Yeah,
Hooker theoretically
yeah.
hasn't had much. There's lots of guys that are just getting kind of shuffled around. So even
Joe
still,
Milton.
Zach Wilson, Milton. Yep, there you go, Milton,
Yeah.
another big arm guy. So I think it's funny because here's what to expect from Tubby. If this is your first time being with the W Sports Podcast going into draft season, Tubby is really good. The easy low hanging fruit is quarterbacks, wide receivers.
Hmm.
That's not what Tubby really is going to bring you in depth in and help you be the most knowledgeable fan for your team. It's going to be the edge rushers, the corners, the linebacker. It's going to be those, I'm going to say, unsexy positions that people are like, God, it's just how does he know this? How does he watch it? No, he does. He cares about it.
I do.
So stay tuned with us. We're going to try to break down like maybe 2 positions on these episodes leading into draft season as we get closer. And also make sure you're subscribed because we will have obviously the shorts that Tubby mentioned with some of those quick rankings. So if
Hmm.
you wanted to show your friends or something like that, easy to do. And then of course next week, a week from today, is opening day for baseball. So that we're going to have our predictions episode. So if you came for some baseball today, yes, we're going to have some more baseball too, and we'll keep you all in the loop on the brackets. We could have done that today, but honestly, there's like 6 games that have happened. It's not worth looking at yet because either you're happy or you're crying.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So any final thoughts, Tubby, before we sign off?
No, I'm ready to dive even deeper into the draft. I mean, we all know this is my favorite time of the year,
Yeah, it's
so
like Christmas for Tubby.
it absolutely is.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you all jumping in with us today. Good luck with your brackets, and we will continue just to follow along, and we'll see y'all next time.
See ya.
See ya.